An adjoining section was held on by a flap of skin. A Chinese-made 60mm mortar, firing Russian ammo, had obviously scored a direct hit. Landry's bent over to take a closer look at the wound and the shrapnel. Blood covered the man's face and the tails of the battle dressing holding the bandage to his head. Landry's squinted, looked closer, took out his glasses, and looked again. "My God!" he exclaimed, face paling, as he turned to Goldman. "What?" Both men turned their attention to the exposed brain. A wound like that, in the incubator climate of Vietnam, meant almost certain death, or at the very least, that the man would be a vegetable if he lived. But this wound was different. God, how different! Slowly but surely, as the two surgeons watched in disbelief, the open wound was taking steps to protect itself. The slender piece of shrapnel was being isolated and encapsulated by what appeared to be the same kind of calcification process that isolates TB bacilli in the lungs. For TB it was known as a Gaume complex, but what the hell this was something else. The dura mater, pia mater, the meninges, protective coverings for the brain and spinal cord, were making slow but visible progress, growing back over the exposed regions of the brain. Visible? Good God! Landry's turned to Goldman. "Get this man prepped and into surgery immediately!" His voice rose to a piercing shriek. "Move! Get X-rays of every centimeter of this man from every angle, and do it now!" The nurses and orderlies jumped at the commands, but Landry's voice still followed them. "I want blood work. I want urology and hemoglobin. I want every damn test this place can make and some it can't. Move, you slugs! If this man dies, I will transfer every one of you to the paratroops and send you fine young ladies to clean open sores in a leper colony. Move, damn it, move!" He turned to Goldman. "Goldman, you found him, so you can stay with him every second of every hour until I can personally relieve you." The major nodded and followed after the wounded man, telling the aides to get an IV started. He ordered the nurses to get the man cleaned up and into isolation, told them he wanted sterile technique to be observed, that if any of them contaminated any of the specimens taken from this man, there would be hell to pay. They took the soldier quickly to a bed in the isolation room of the hospital. The only other patient in the room was an elderly Viet farmer in the final stages of a bout with typhus, no longer contagious, so Goldman had the orderlies throw him out with a gift of $50 American. The sudden windfall delighted the old man, and he quickly grabbed his few meager belongings and sprinted out the door like an Olympic hurdle jumper, as if he feared these crazy Americans would change their minds and take the money back. He went through the main gate so fast the AP standing guard shook his head in wonder at the old-timer's agility. As the nurses and orderlies stripped the wounded man, Goldman called for an IV of sterile saline to be started stat. For the first time, he now looked at the man's dog tags to check his blood type. O positive. No problem there. The most common type of blood. Vital signs were next. The man's temperature was 97.9, almost a degree lower than normal. It shouldn't be lower than normal. He should be running a fever. Respiration, 18 to the minute. A little rapid, but not bad. Pulse, slightly faster than normal. Blood pressure, 140/90, normal. But there was nothing normal about this. Nothing about the wounded man was as it should be. Goldman left, taking the man's dog tags and wound tag. Again, he read the legend on the dog tags. Casey Romaine, type O-Pos, Protestant. It told him nothing about who the man was. He stopped by his chief orderly's office to drop off the wound tag. "Get this man's medical records in here ASAP and tell a commanding officer of his company to get me his 201 file. Also, I want all information on his personal history and background, and have it for me by tomorrow afternoon." The chief orderly had a bland look in his eyes, so